And you guys can pass out those really weird and exotic apples, I think, at the end, at the end of the Q&A. I also really want to.
At the end, yeah.
Yeah, at the end we'll do that. So it's a reward if you stay here for the next half hour. I'm hungry. I don't know. This film makes your mouth water. I also really want to introduce our so-called experts on those side, filmmakers on the. It's Jano Lanjau. How do you say this here?
Lanjau, yes.
I've been living in Holland for 10 years. I can't even speak a word. I'm sorry, but you've started the Food Film Festival.
Food Film Festival, that's it.
Which had its first edition at the Studio K, was it?
Yeah, 2 years ago
Two
already.
2 years ago, and you're planning other ones. It's fantastic. There's a great and burgeoning body of food films tied in with politics. And I'd also like to, another unpronounceable word, name for me, from ACEED Europe, which is a really interesting organization based here in Holland, but also all over Europe with offices, I think. And they challenge, I think, a lot of the kind of monocultural practices, and we'll get to hear from them in a minute. But maybe I'll just pose a question first to Young about your own obsessions with fruit and how you became a fruit yourself.
Well, the movie is based on a book by a friend of mine, Adam Goldner. It's called The Fruit Hunters. And I've always had kind of childhood connections to fruit. I think as a kid going to Taiwan to visit my grandparents, we had durian and lychees, and they were never the same quality as they would be when I was back in Montreal, or in Toronto, actually, where I grew up. They were always subpar, and it's always sat in the back of my mind. And it wasn't until I read the book and realized there was so much more, and there were people actually with individual missions to preserve and protect these varieties of mangoes and etc. That I realized that there was a story, to talk about this, and hence the Fruit Hunters. And I wish I could keep going. There's so much more fruit to discover and to see, and I know there's the Coco de Mer in the Seychelles Islands, the one that's shaped like a woman's pelvis, and then there's the baobab fruit in Africa that I really wanted to go to, but the producers wouldn't let me. They ran out of money.
You brought to the world your sort of first film, your first big film, Up the Yangtze, which really looked at a kind of family getting dislocated by the Three Gorges Dam. Because of, cinematographically a beautiful film. This China Heavyweight, which is your other film, which you have here at IDFA. Also kind of subtextually looking at the new China, I would say, but through the eyes of these young boxing girls and boys who have to choose whether to box for the good of their nation or box as individuals in a kind of free market economy. This film also has a kind of, I would say, subtextual political level, but it's not in this classic IDFA sense, a hardcore political film, but it does get to some of the issues through a kind of joyful and pleasurable way. Is this your kind of strategy or view of the world?
Yeah, I think the thesis of this film is just about finding that innate connection that we all have within us, that we're all fruit hunters. We just have to find a way to unlock that connection, because we've lost it over the years of evolution, and as a result we've gotten so good at it that what we've done is we've created monocultures and things like this, and where there aren't any varieties of fruit and other such varieties of things, and so that the notion, the essay of the film was to try to find that instinct that we've lost, and so I used that as my groundwork to work through the film. And yes, when we came upon the story of the Bornean nomad, the Penan Bala, and the story of the banana, I mean, there were somewhat political subject matter that we wanted to infuse in the film.
You're seeing the film for the first time here. I'm wondering if you have a kind of a critique of it or a contribution to make. I know both from the ACEED kind of point of view, but also yourself. I know you're doing other kinds of work too, with kind of food and community.
I think it's a good film because it's showing this positive side of it, the enthusiasm that people get for the issue, for the fruits. And if you really look at it well, there is some criticism in it as well, which people can discover, and if they want to know more, they can find out, or they can go to another documentary. So in this way, it has this function. I can imagine that it's also good to have other documentaries or ways to communicate more of the criticism. Why? Yeah, in the end with Borneo it was clear. It's all for the palm oil, which is now used mainly for bioenergy, actually. And for the rest, I liked it as well because I'm here, also working on a farm, producing fruits and selling fruits in Amsterdam or in the Netherlands. But all those settings were from the other side of the world, or the other sides of the world. The closest was Italy, and still these were fruits that you don't have here. So that was the interesting thing for me. I know the local situation, the local part of the local fruits, not all of them, and also the difficulties of producing a lot of varieties, because you can produce them as a hobby, and that's what most of those people do. The other thing that we do is produce them for the farmers market, and then you can produce whatever you want, but you also somehow have to sell it, and then you have to deal with the consumers. And we have some kind of a rule that we can have maximum one new product a year, because it takes a long time before people actually want to try it and want to buy it. But yeah, I like it to see this, to introduce the issue to a lot of people.
We were preparing apples, comparing apples to pears, maybe just out there in the hall earlier. You were telling us about the apples that we were maybe looking at. Maybe that's that one. I'm not sure. That was a popular apple in Holland in the 70s or something, but somehow it's not favorable anymore. It's not a.
This is we had 1 minute introduction talk before the movie, and that was the thing I was saying. The Cox was always one of my favorite apples, and it was the apple that you could sell everywhere in the 70s, beginning of the 80s, and then it somehow got replaced by the Elstar, in the Netherlands at least. Yeah, which comes from the village Elst. That's why it's called Elstar, originally. But the reason that it was replaced is not because consumers like it more. It's more because it's easier to grow. It's the Cox it's a difficult tree. It has a lot of problems with diseases. It doesn't have such a big harvest. So the Elstar is just more profitable for farmers. It looks better often. I mean, it's harder to have a good-looking Cox. So supermarkets prefer those apples that you can grow everywhere, that always looks the same, that you can store for 9 months or a year. And the nicest apples are the type of apples that you just have for 2 weeks. And we have some customers that really come to the market stall and ask, do you already have this type? The Macintosh is one of them, actually. That was in the movie. You also have it here. That are asking for this apple. No, maybe next week. But then you have it, and then it's gone in 2 weeks because you cannot store it. And that's the problem with a lot of fruits, that they don't fit in supermarkets because they're always different, and you only have them in this short period.
Yeah, no, you've as a curator of food films, you come across a lot. Maybe we can get your kind of take on the film.
Yeah, sure. We do a food film festival, so we try to sort of get the whole thing that food is in 3 days of food films, feature, documentary, shorts, whatever. And then we also have workshops and all stuff around this. But generally, documentaries are either, making a complaint, saying, well, this is a problem with our current food system, or they are celebrating food. And what I really liked is that this is a sort of combination of it, because we have an ideal as the Food Film Festival, and that's having a better food system. And that, I think, goes best if you never ever tell people what you're eating is not good. You have to be sort of positive, because if people, as the saying goes, are what they eat, then you can never say what you're eating is wrong. So you have to sort of be positive all the time. And I think it's really working also. I mean, if you look at all the amazing fruits in here, and just show that, then it becomes more interesting to discover what's, you know, why don't you have different kind of apples here? I mean, there's tons of apples. So I think in that way it's a very positive film, and yeah.
Well, what I love about, and I'm looking forward to traveling with this film a little bit, because the opportunity to go into the cities that I travel to and look for the fruit that is local is a lot of fun, and to have found this Cox orange apple that tastes like an orange, which is amazing, and this giant, what's it called?
Ik denk it's Rode van Bosco.
That's it. I haven't tried it yet. I hear it's very good.
Oftewel goudrenet.
And then I made a mission today before the screening to try to find a durian, but didn't have any luck. If anyone has any tips about that, let me know. But I talked to some Chinese couple, and they told me to go to Chinatown, but I couldn't find Chinatown. I got a little lost. But the mission will continue. What I did find were what's that market not so far away from here? It's called, that's it. Yeah, yeah, the Albuquerque. Yeah, I found some dragon fruit. I don't know if everyone has tried these before, but to be honest, they're beautiful. And when you cut them open, they have this beautiful white flesh, and they're not very flavorful. They're not very sweet.
It's the one where the lady goes wild about in the movie, right?
That's one that. Yeah. Ooh, yeah, that lady. Yeah, birds and bees. That lady. And but I heard from another fruit source in Toronto that these are very good for your liver, and hence the flavor is not extremely sweet. They're very tasty. And I feel like I kind of want to keep. I'm like Jack Hant, the guy that on the Carson show.
Have you also started growing your own fruit now?
I can't really. I've started to grow a miracle fruit.
Right.
In fact, I wish I could have brought everyone some miracle fruit, but I just couldn't get it over the border. But you can find these I'm sure you can find them around here somewhere in Europe, and have them shipped into you. But they're quite special fruit, and they grow in the right condition. You can grow it in your house. I've kept a seed from somewhere, and I found a cherimoya, and this is the one. This is Bill Pullman's favorite fruit, but this is rock hard. In fact, what you need to do is you have to wait until it's very, very ripe before you can eat this. But maybe I'll pass some of these around.
Can I eat it now?
I wouldn't. I don't think you want to eat it this one, but maybe the dragon fruit. You want to dip into that one.
I won't eat them all. I think the durian fruit would be the best fruit because it smells horrible. I remember shooting a film in the Philippines, and one of the the technicians wanted to really buy them and keep them in the truck for us. So 6 durian fruit. It would be the easiest way to vacate a cinema, I would say. When our time is up, we'll bring out the durian fruit. Yeah. But we have 2 microphones. I'm not sure how we're going to get them, or 1 microphone at least. There it is there. Don't be too shy if you want to ask any of our panelists up here a question. Okay, we'll just wait for a microphone because we are recording all of these things for the IDFA website, and so we get your voice recorded as well.
Does it work? Yeah. I liked it a lot, the movie, and I was wondering is there already interest from broadcast companies in countries to buy it, the movie?
Yes, and I should let our sales agent answer that question here.
There she is.
Here,
we also want to speak to her.
Yeah, there we go. Here, go for it. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Chanel from the National Film Board. I actually handle sales in Europe, Japan, and Australia. So at the weekend, we were able to sell it. Okay, I'll take one. Why not? I'll take one after. So yeah, I've sold it to Poland and Israel. Poland is an all rights deal, and DBS Satellite is a broadcaster in Israel. But I started talking about our team started talking about it at MIPCOM already, and there's lots of interest. So yeah, for sure, broadcasters are all pretty much going to be on board on this one. I would think it's a great film. It's a great film.
I suggest I suggest for anyone who screens the film is that you have to make it into an event and get local fruit and I think that's the message is sort of this community aspect to it as well that as I find is in itself a kind of soft method of activism, and I think it's important.
Well, this is exactly what the Food Film Festival always tries to do, to not only have a screening, but then have a workshop or, I don't know, a debate or a lecture, something added. And I was wondering, do you know of any fruit hunters in the Netherlands or Dutch guys?
We have one here.
Yeah, I don't consider myself as a fruit hunter, but I know, for example, you have a lot of pomologische verenigingen, like organizations that are really into apples. They have hundreds of types of apples, and I know people who there's a lot of seed saving as well going on, and then with tomatoes. I know people in the Netherlands that have 140 types of tomatoes and keep the seeds all the time and exchange them. And that's one of the things I want to say now about what we're doing with A-Seed. One of the issues we campaign on is this seed issue. And in beginning of March, we organize a next seed weekend with on Saturday a big seed fair where everybody can exchange their fruit seeds with also vegetable seeds. You can have another movie about vegetables. We combine the two, and there from all over the Netherlands, but also from Belgium, Germany, people will come with their stall, or small and big, to exchange seeds. And this is from people with a small garden, with a balcony, and also bigger people with small farms, just to continue to exchange those special types, also often local varieties. Because that's what often gets lost. It's you can travel with the seeds and the fruits all over the world, but it's especially good to preserve the local varieties that fit to the climate, fit to the soil. And this is also, we do this to connect the practical part to all the people with their gardens that come to those, that are just interested in those nice seeds. It's not just seeds; it's also sprouts or seedlings. To have them in their own garden or their community garden or their small farm. But we link this with the political content of it, and which is about what's mentioned in the movie a bit, what the role of the supermarkets, but it's also on the political level. At this moment, the European seed legislation really makes it hard to continue with your special fruits, with your special vegetables, because if they're not on the official list, you're not allowed to grow them commercially. So I think there are three levels. It's good to have the positive movie to get people interested, and then there are somehow three levels to make sure that you still have all those fruits in 10, 20, 50 years. That's people can just do it themselves, like they do in the movie, or be aware what they buy, what they ask for their grocery shop. It's the position of the companies, but there's also the political level that really makes it hard at this moment to actually grow those special
I've heard that
types of fruits.
In the EU, the list that you're talking about, they have a particular list that is restrictive because it only clarifies having very pretty fruit, perfect fruit. Is that correct? It's not
perfect. It's not about that. It's a perfect fruit. Or vegetable. The reason to start this list is that the European Union, in agriculture policy, they want to have high yields. They want to have a good product, to have healthy food, but also something that you can trade. It's about the product has to be. What are the words in? You have to be able to really have a distinction between one fruit and another. While a lot of fruits that you have in varieties are really, they have some kind of spectrum. This is not possible. It should be this, the distinctness of a fruit or a vegetable. And there are two others that have to, which makes it very impossible for the special varieties to get on this list. The results should also always be the same, and that's not with a lot of fruits that you have. You have this pollination. You don't always know what happens. It depends a bit on the type of fruit, the type of vegetable. But if the result is not always exactly the same apple with the same DNA, then it's not possible to have it on this list, which goes really against all those thousands of varieties that you see on those markets in Bali or in Colombia or wherever.
Here's a man who knows his fruit. In the middle, please. Microphone.
Microphone back there.
In the back there, in the middle. Yes, yeah, you have to raise your hand so we can get there. If you can wait 1 second, we'll get the microphone because we're recording this.
Now you're talking about those trees. Can probably one of the two on the right side explain me what happened to the trees in Amsterdam? Why don't we have eatable food?
Well, I'm not sure, but as always, I think governments are afraid. That's why little kids at the Queen's Day party cannot sell their own baked cakes anymore. So they're afraid that people eat it and get sick most of the time. Stupid regulations like that.
But
it's a great idea to grow fruits
this is
around the city.
already a long time ago started, I think, in Europe, that we changed fruit trees into trees who only looks looks nice.
I think especially Western Europe or Northwestern Europe. I've been cycling often in Romania, Bulgaria, and you can pick fruits. If you do this in summer, of course, you can pick fruits everywhere. There's no 100 meters of road without fruit trees next to it. In the Netherlands, that hardly exists. Partly, maybe it's also a commodity. It's a market, and if something is for free, it doesn't fit with this way of thinking that you have producers and consumers. But I think this is something positive now that's changing. More and more, there are more and more groups starting community gardens, trying to put pressure on local municipalities to have to make the cities and the villages greener. And this is changing. There are quite some local municipalities that are now willing to they don't create it themselves, but to offer empty land for local people to start their gardens, start their orchards.
It's like
it's still hard.
Local farmers organization. Miano, you're working a lot with the is it young? What's that young group?
It's the youth food movement, which is,
sounds like a great idea.
It's a group of young people that strives for a better food system, and the Food Film Festival is just one of their events. But we do also a lot of things. For example, a few weeks ago on the power of supermarkets, which you were telling about. A few weeks ago, we had one of our bigger supermarkets, Albert Heijn, just writing a letter to their producer saying, "We're going to pay 2% less because we want to grow, and this is in your best interest. So we're just going to cut you on your price," which is a very strange thing to do. So we made these little stickers that looked like the discount stickers, saying 2%, and just put them on all the products and went to the cashier and saying, "Well, we want 2% discount, because if you can do that, we can do that ourselves." Made a video about it and just sent it on the internet online. And I don't know, the next day we were invited by all the farmers' organizations. Everyone was just cheering for us. And in the end, I think Albert Heijn sort of made a half decision, like, "Oh, no, we're not going to do it," and then still try to do it in another way. But, there are many things wrong with our food. And so you can sort of easily, pick your fruit, your low-hanging fruit, we would say in the Netherlands. And then have fun whilst doing that. So that's good. Any questions?
There's a woman there first, and then we'll get another one from you.
Well, I was just going to say, first of all, congratulations, Young Chang. It was a beautiful film. And I have a question. I know that the film is based on a book, and I was just wondering if there are any particular challenges, if there are any ideas in the book that didn't translate well to film.
Well, that's. Have you read the book? It's a very dense book. I think every paragraph you could make a feature film about, and so I had to find a way to reason with it, and certainly working with the author, it was about distancing that relationship, that adaptation. So it's very much a film that came out on its own. A lot of the characters in the movie were not involved in the book. Although some of them are, and I use it mostly, the book, as a source material to be able to find characters and people to follow. And most of those were Ken Love, Richard Campbell, Maurice Ledesma. Bill Pullman and Isabella Dalla Ragione and Juan and Bala all came kind of through my own research process. But some things were taken from the book, and certainly the history of fruit names was something that excited me a lot, and that was taken from the book. And Bill Pullman at the end of the film, when he's relating the definition of paradise, that actually he took from the book, which is very interesting. He was summarizing some of the points in the book about that. Yeah.
You got one. Pass the mic, please, to in front of you and then behind you. How can we do that? We're just going in order of your. And then
that's over there too. Yeah.
Then we went over here as the fourth question. Okay.
In the it's told now that it's in the movie and also here that it's lost the feeling for taste. That's one of the main issues.
Yeah.
Do you consider to make a version for children, because it's very enchanting movie, but it's maybe too difficult for children. But if they see it in a more simple version, they can be.
I'd love to make a version for children if someone wants to give me some money. Film board would give me a little more money. You know, there's a fruit in Africa, in the baobab fruit tree that I want to find, in the Seychelles Islands. You know, the coco de mer. I think that's PG. It's a PG fruit. Not so bad. Yeah.
I'm glad we planted you there.
Thank you.
Did they succeed with the manga at the end?
Good question. They did. They succeeded with only one. They brought back about almost 12 or 5. There was a handful, more than a handful, and all of them died except the one that one survived. And so the Wani is living. I know now, and Norris just wrote to me that they've moved the Wani into the greenhouse at the Fairchild Botanic Garden. So it's now living there, protected, and hopefully it will soon bear fruit. It may take years, though.
And we'll take the last question. Sorry, it will get to be truncated. But yes, please, sir.
Okay. First of all, it's a great movie, very tasteful.
Yeah, thank you.
But also kind of schizophrene. On one side, you see we see all these fruit freaks, and on the side, the products in the supermarket. Where is the connection? Is there any connection? Aren't there research stations all over the world developing local products into commodity products for the supermarkets?
I think that's ultimately the greatest challenge. Like you were saying, supermarkets want fruit that is sellable, and often these exotic fruits they look scary to a lot of people, and people are afraid about them. The durian is a scary fruit. I know that Richard Campbell, the fruit hunter in the film, one of his goals is to introduce the jackfruit to a general market. And you know, the jackfruit is this giant 60-kilo fruit that looks monster. It looks like a monster, and it's very scary. But people eat them and love them in Southeast Asia. They're a very popular fruit. It's just a certain idea of culture and mentality. And what I'm talking about is introducing fruits to the West and to North America. Often, most of these fruits, as you've seen in the film, do and are popular in their native countries.
It's the same with pineapple, as my good friend Lex, who's sitting over there, by the way, he is doing a sort of a research project on pineapples, just for journalism purposes. But it was just introduced, just like a business model, and it's only one type of pineapple. It's the MD2, and we are all eating it, and it's everywhere. So it's just like a business model that's. Well, if it works, it works, and there you go.
I'll leave you with two things, though. There's the story of the kiwi fruit, which is a story that was in the book that I couldn't put into the movie, but it used to be known as the Chinese gooseberry. And it was brought over from Chongqing by a New Zealand teacher, and they tried to market it as the Chinese gooseberry in the 1960s, but nobody wanted to buy something called the Chinese gooseberry. And so the marketing campaign thought about it, and they came up with the word kiwi, just call it kiwi. And bang, it was the big superfruit back then. I will tip you out on the next big fruit. And it's actually, you can find it in the northern climates. It's a berry. And it's very popular in Japan. In Japan, they used to harvest them with chopsticks in Hokkaido. It's called the haskap berry, Haskap. And Canada, in fact, my home country, is said to be the next big exporter of the haskap berry. Look for it. It has 3 times the antioxidants of a blueberry. It's not very pretty, but it tastes good. It looks like a blue marshmallow, and that's it.
There are as many lovely films at IDFA and varieties of fruit films, or films as there are fruit. So thank you very much, Yangtze A-Seed and Food Film Festival. I think we'll have to vacate very quickly the cinema, but there are...
I got to tell them the Cox orange.
There's some oranges out there, some Cox orange. The apple orange is there for your use. Thank you very much.
And do all come to the Food Film Festival, 22nd of March.